Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds. I wanted to give you a few tips to help you keep your swarm catches in your boxes. In a couple circumstances, swarms, even after you hive them into a box, are going to still abscond and go somewhere else. And this is because the swarms have already determined a location. They're sending out tons of scouts, and of course I caught this one about 6 miles from here, so that, in my opinion, is key number one. But they're sending all those scouts out. I don't want them going into my box and then still determining that, we like this other location better. And sometimes it's not better, but it's where they've already decided that they're going to go. And when they get in that way, bees are going to do whatever they've decided they're going to do. So that's why I always move my swarms. Now, some people will say that there's other ways to do it. You don't have to move them, but I have never found a surefire way to be able to keep the bees in the box every time on a swarm catch, except when I move them multiple miles. This one right here, though, I'm pretty happy about it. I'm guessing it's going to cover probably at least 7 frames. So step number one is moving them. I really feel like you need to move them at least a couple miles. This gets them away from wherever they think they're going to. And when you get them there, don't move them back until you start seeing brood. And this isn't because we're worried about them leaving. I'm worried about you having a virgin queen in that swarm. I've got a mated queen in this one. I'm pretty darn sure. I mean, she looks like a mated queen to me. And I caught them low on the ground, which probably also means that she was mated and hadn't slimmed down enough where she could fly good. So she flew for a little ways, fell to the ground, and then the swarm goes around her. So I only found one queen here. She's in this cage down here right in the center. This is an important step as well if you can find her, but it's not necessary. However, you might have a virgin queen, and if you catch the virgin queen, I've seen as many as 9 virgins in one swarm this size. So if you're going to move them, which I recommend, then make sure before you move them back that you're seeing some brood, because if you move them back too quickly and the queen is still in the process of mating, that virgin queen, then you could be causing her not to get mated fully, and then you have a second-rate queen. So I recommend, if you can already have this kind of planned out, maybe a buddy or a neighbor or a family member that you kind of told after you already moved them over there, because forgiveness is easier to ask for than permission, especially when it comes to beekeeping. Don't shake your head at me. I've never done that before. Anyways, so wait till that queen's laying before you move them back. Those virgin queens, I would give them 14 days because it can take a few days for them to settle down and then for her to start flying. And it can take 5-7 days if the weather's not very cooperative for her to mate. It can only take a couple days in a row, 2 or 3 good days, and she goes out and mates, and then she comes back, and then even if she comes back immediately, it can take her a couple days to start laying really good. So usually 10 days works, but if you have some bad weather, it could be 14 days. So just give them a little bit of time. And again, if you have a mated queen, 3 days later you might have brood. So it just really depends on the circumstances. Now, another thing that you can do to help lock them in is throw in a frame like this one right here. I threw this in from a different colony in this yard. It's all larvae, so it has to be fed royal jelly and they have to be baby. That does help lock them in, but I have seen swarms still abscond and leave brood behind. Some people will tell you they won't do that. If they still have an area they feel like is better in their original location, they will leave that brood behind. I mean, shoot, they just left brood behind when they swarmed out of the first hive they came out of, so why wouldn't they do it again? So that's why I don't believe that will lock them in entirely. Moving them, I think, is the best thing you can do. This is just a frame of foundation right here. Come on to this side and let me show you how busy. They haven't even been in this box for maybe but 12 hours, maybe a little bit longer than that, 14, and they're already starting to build that beautiful wax. Look at that. Swarm straw combs, so good. And that's why we're going to be giving them foundations for the rest of those. Give them that frame of larvae. I'm going to release the queen later this evening. I'm going to give them a little bit of feed, just enough to help keep stimulating them to draw comb. They're going to draw comb anyways this time of the year because we are in the middle of our strong clover flow and privet flow. However, if you catch them during your dearth period, and you need to know when those are, if you don't give them feed, they won't draw comb near as good. So we love that new comb. Combs are gold. Let me get that bee off of you, Laurel. Get out of here. So remember, if you can, move them. If you can, give them larvae. Catch the queen if you can, but also give them some time to settle in. Once they start drawing comb, once they start laying eggs, they're totally staying. Don't put anything like formic acid or thymol or any strong essential oils in these things. I don't know why everyone feels like those strong smells are necessary. I understand why people want to treat though. And by the way, if you want to treat these things to get the mite levels really low, there's a great opportunity right before they cap the brood. You want to make sure that they're locked in. They're not running around like this. You want them to have plenty of brood. You want that queen laying. And then if you have oxalic acid vapor, you can get like a 90-something% kill. Just vaporize the hive, but make sure they're locked in first. Don't use formic acid. Don't use thymol or even strong essential oils, because those smells can put them off their location. Now if you use those later, like way later, it'd be okay, but formic's too strong, thymol's too strong. I've actually run swarms out using thymol even a week later, just because it's so strong. So oxalic acid vapor is really good for this. You can get a good 90-something% kill. So let me get this queen out of here. Let's throw these foundations in real quick. Yep, there she is. Right down in there. All these bees, they just love their queen. I corked it with a bunch of grass and whatnot, but she's down in there. They love her. Always keep her in the shade. And keep your foundations in the shade. This is really tricky, not crushing a bee like this. You just kind of take your time and kind of push it over a little bit slowly until the bees work their way out of the way, until the frame will finally go. This is a swarm trap box, by the way. Oh, come on, get back in there. But this is one of those instances where, you know, I don't really see it, but we're probably crushing a couple bees. We're taking our time trying to do our best, but there's not a whole lot you can do about it. But I kid you not, you will come back a week later and do this, and this box will be 3/4 drawn with wild combs everywhere. And you want to talk about damaging bees then. Damaging brood, crushing bees, wasting all that beautiful comb. Some people are like, well, you can wire it into frames. Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. But yeah, I promise you, we'll come back if we get a chance to do this video. We're working like 100 hours a week right now. That's just me by myself. Laurel's working, but if you count the kids, more than that. Always showing me up. I tell you what, we are busy, busy, busy. We're going to be queen rearing here in a little bit. All kinds of stuff. Scoot that over. Make sure you got your bee space right. You want them to get these combs drawn out beautifully. I guarantee you, we come back to this one here in a couple weeks, and there's just going to be so many combs drawn out, especially with a little bit of feed. Help them out a little bit. All right, here's some queen candy right here. I know you're all going to want the recipe for this, so we're working on it. I can't remember what the recipe is, Laurel. You have to remind me. So let's flatten this sucker out. Now, this candy works good this time of the year, but in winter I wouldn't feed it because it has powdered sugar in it, and that cornstarch is really, it's not good for them in the winter time where they can't get out and fly and poop it out. It's an impossible situation. All right. Let's go ahead and just leave it tilted up a little bit. But anyways, there you go. We've got a swarm. This is going to help you keep them locked in, keep them in the boxes and all that kind of stuff. Well, it kind of helps if you remember to put the queen in. So Laurel at the end of the video is like, you know, you forgot to put the queen in. That's kind of an important little piece of anything when it comes to beekeeping. But there she is right there, trying to get herself out. So we're going to go ahead and release her now. Let's go ahead and do that. The easiest way to get bees off is just take them into some grass and or have a bee brush Alright. I'm not sure I can get the rest of the grass out, so we'll get the hive tool. And main thing is we want to make sure that she does not fly away. It'd be better if we spritz her wings down with some sugar. As long as we keep her close, she's going to go over towards her bees. Go, 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 go. Alright, she's on my finger. Oh, there she goes. Alright. Be happy, bees, and you'll be happy if you stay in my boxes, because I'll treat you like royalty. Thanks for watching our videos.